Brian Van Dyne here. Don't mind me, I'm just getting some stuff set up. Let's tilt this a little more this way. Can't have that touching the screen or else it starts wigging out on me. Let's go a little bit further down. Trying to get this set up just so. There, let's try that. Oh, still not quite enough. All right, give me a second here. Let me find a twig or something. I want to do a Q&A. It's been a while since I did a Q&A for dump truck business stuff. Okay, that's better. That's good. That's good. There we are. Okay, I got my handy dandy camping chair, and I got a stool. I can put my feet up, answer some dump truck questions. But I'd like to start out this live stream talking about how I started my dump truck business. Okay, so a lot of you guys on the channel already know how I started, but there's a lot of people that are just now joining the channel. I'd like to give you some insight on how I started this dump truck business. As you can see that's the truck I started with. That's the second truck I bought, and that's the third truck I bought. What's up, Blake? Blake's in the house. How things going down your way in Ohio? So I started my dump truck business basically 4 years ago, roughly, give or take, right around 4 years. This is our 4th year in business, right? So I bought the dump truck back in 2017. I was working full-time as a truck and trailer tanker driver. And that was a lot of hours. I spent a lot of hours in the truck and trailer delivering to Klamath Falls, doing jet fuel. So I would be gone basically all week, come home on the weekend. And then finally that slowed down, and then I was doing more. I was delivering ethanol every day. It seemed like 3 loads of ethanol from Tacoma to Seattle. And I was just getting burnt out working for people. You know, me and my wife have been married for 9 years now, going on 10. And the first, 5-6 years of our marriage, it seemed like every 7 months to a year, I would quit a job and go work for somebody else. I would just, I was switching jobs because I never got fired. I just, except for the tanker job, I did get fired from that, but we'll get into that. I would just get fed up with all the, the politics involved with working for somebody and having multiple coworkers, and it just wasn't working out for me. I would get fed up with working super hard and not getting recognized, and that's something that is going to happen to you when you're working for somebody else. You're just going to work your tail off and nobody's going to recognize. You're never going to get paid what you're worth. You're probably never going to get compensated for that extra work you do. They'll probably never notice you. I mean, that was my experience. Like, at least that's how I felt. Especially in the roofing industry. Like, I busted my back like so hard, and then nobody cares. Nobody cares. And until you stop working. When you stop working, then they start caring, because then they're not making any money, and then they start getting pissed. But when you're working like super hard, they're like, yeah, good job. That's the most you're gonna get from them. And when I was in the tanker business, I was working 60 to 70 hours, basically maxing out the logbook every single week. And I just, it just seemed like I wasn't getting anywhere in life. And I was just like, man, this is stupid. Like, I'm literally a slave to this company, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere in life. Like, you know, it just felt like I was not achieving anything. And so finally I said, and I had a talk with the boss, the owner's son, and I said, look, man, like, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere in life. Like, I need to be making more money. Like, 70, 80,000 is not enough. I need to be clearing six figures. My wife doesn't work. I need to be clearing six easily. I need to be clearing that, you know. And he's like, yeah, yeah, we can make you a truck boss, Brian. You could be making $30 an hour. And I knew he was just blowing smoke. I knew it because here I am, you know, I started out making more than most people at that company, right? And it was because I had a family member that was worked at one of the terminals that we loaded out of, right? So I came in with some, you know, you could call it clout, you could call it, some sort of status, basically. Um, because I had that relationship. My stepdad was one of the bosses at the terminal. So it just made sense. Okay, let's get this guy in here because we could possibly get more work from this. And they did. Um, so I came in a little bit higher than most everybody else. Like, they were usually hiring people right around 17, $18 an hour, 19 maybe. And I think I started at 20, and then I was up to 21.50, I think. I think that's what my last pay was when I was working there. Um, and you know, so I mean, the possibility might have been there if I would have stayed there for 20 years. I might have been making 30, maybe, if I stayed there for 20 years. But I would have been working 70 hours a week for 20 years straight, you know, just to make that 30. And it just wasn't happening. It wasn't not going for me. And so I finally, this was at the time I had started saving money before, because I'm like, I need to get out of this. I need to start my own business. And I had wanted to start my own business for probably 5 years at that point. Like, when me and my wife first got married, I tried doing a uh, welding business. It was a, you know, not portable, mobile welding, basically. Mobile welding is what I tried to start. And I did the LLC, and, I started drumming up a little bit of business, and I probably made like 500-600 bucks a month while I was working my full-time job. And then I finally realized, I'm like, I love welding, but this is not my passion. There's no way I could do this every single day, all year round. I mean, I can make some decent money, but it's not where I'm at. And so I had been in the roofing business. I knew how to weld, and I had a CDL. And so those were my three options, basically, was like, and I tried to welding. It didn't really pan out for me. I had been in the roofing business, and I hated it. But I knew I could make money in roofing, right? Because I knew what the roofers were making. So I was thinking about starting a roofing business, but I absolutely hated it. And I was like, as much as I know how to do this, I hate it. I do not want to do something I hate like that. I'd rather do something that I'm okay with and I can make decent money. And so then I'm like, okay, I have a CDL. I love driving. Driving's easy. You can drive, your whole life basically, and, you don't really got to worry too much. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do a driving job. And so then I'm like, okay, what kind of driving job am I going to do? And I was looking And I was doing my research, and long haul was out of the question because I had a kid, a wife, and a kid, and a daughter. And so long haul was out of the question. Flatbedding, like local, I'm like, okay, possibility here. But then I heard about what they're making, and they're only making, like, 2,000 a week, maybe. 3,000 a week, maybe. And I'm like, it's a lot, but it's still not where I want to be. And then I heard dump trucks, they're making $1,000 a day. And I figured, okay, dump trucking is brainless. Like, all you do is flip a lever and you tip the box up and you dump it. Like, it's super easy. It's not rocket science. I'm like, I can do that, and I can sit in a truck. I know I can sit in a truck for 70 hours, 70 plus hours a week, because I already do it. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy a dump truck. I really considered buying a fuel truck because I already knew everything there was to know about the fuel industry. So I did consider that. But insurance was so high, I wouldn't have been able to make insurance payments. Insurance would have killed me. And so I was like, yeah, insurance is going to kill me. So let's do the dump truck. Insurance is probably a lot cheaper because you're hauling dirt. And dirt isn't expensive. And, it's just dirt. If something falls off your truck, you're not making, you don't got to pay somebody for a lost stock, or, if your truck leaks the fuel out of it or something, you're not paying for that fuel that's lost, so I figured dump trucking was the way to go. So I started looking on Craigslist, and I found 2 dump trucks that were within my price range, that I thought were within my price range. And, well, before that, I was considering just working and saving enough, like 50,000 is what I was kind of going to save. And then I was talking to my buddy about it, and he's like, dude, no, that's not you. Just go buy a junk one and fix it and then work with it, And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. So I started saving, and then I found that truck, and I found another truck. That truck was 10,000 on Craigslist, and there was another truck that was 16,000. Okay, 1 second. Dang it. Okay, there we go. My phone just vibrated because somebody texted me. It totally shifted where it was on the mount. So then, I have, this truck is $10,000. It looks better. It's a Peterbilt. I'm like, yeah, that's the truck. It was orange and blue. My wife's wedding colors and my wedding colors were orange and blue, and I was like, this is a sign. There was no plan. And the other truck was all the way in Yakima, which was easily a 3-hour drive. And that truck was in Sultan, which was only a 2-hour drive. And so I started texting the guy, and I said, hey, what's up with the truck? Why are you selling it so cheap? He's like, oh, no reason. It's just, it's been flipped, and it's, it's ready to work, is what he said. Dude, never trust anybody that says that. I'm just going to tell you that. Oh, yeah, it's ready to work, man. I'm going to put the thing to work next week. It needs a little bit, but you can work the thing. And I'm thinking, oh, yeah, this is great. This is perfect. $10,000. Let's see if I can get him down a little bit. He says it's been flipped. And, so I showed up with my wife and my 2 kids to go look at the truck. The guy wasn't there, so I spent probably about an hour just looking over everything on the truck. And I found out, the frame was cracked and was bent in a few spots. The tires were completely bald. It was missing a mirror. It was missing all the lights. It was a lot of the wires were chafed and you could see through. All the air hoses were dry rot and cracked and leaking. There was no oil on the dipstick. The coolant was low. And then the guy finally shows up, and I'm looking at it. And so then I'm looking at the truck, and then the guy finally shows up, and he's like, "Hey, let's start the thing up." I'm like, "Well, there's no oil in there. The oil's not even shown on the dipstick." He's like, "Oh, that's probably the wrong dipstick." Like, I was that stupid. Like, this is how stupid you can be and still make it, right? And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that thing leaks oil. I'll just add some and we'll add a gallon," you know? So we added a gallon of oil. And, then it was touching the bottom of the dipstick, which, with my experience, now I know that's 2 gallons low, right? So it was 3 gallons low, and then it was 2 gallons low. And so he started the truck up, and I'm not even kidding you. Like, the amount of smoke that came from the truck could have easily filled this whole area up. Just this whole back area. This whole area. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, this motor is toast. This motor is toast. There's no way. Like, I'm going to be buying a new motor. Like, so then I had to think in my head, okay, a motor's probably 20 grand. Like, I'm going to so I can save up this money to put a new motor on there. And, I told the guy, I said, "Look, man, the best I can do is $8,000 cash." And he said, "Oh, I can't do that. I can't do that." And I said, "Okay, well, I'm going to have to peace out then. It's just too rough of a truck." And so me and my wife's like, "Don't buy that thing." She's like, "Are you going to buy that?" And I'm like, "Oh, if you'll go down to 8,000, I'll buy it." And she's like, "Are you sure?" Like, she literally said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we can. I think, we can save up and we can fix it over time. We can do it." And then I'm like, I didn't even second guess myself. I knew in my head, I'm going to make this work no matter what. Because I'm sick and tired of working for people. And then we were getting ready to leave, and the guy's like, wait. I can make 8,000 work. I said, okay. So then I counted out the bills, broke out the wallet, and I was like, here's 8,000 cash. Boom. And then he signed over the title. The thing, when I bought it, so I didn't even take it for a test drive. The box only went up to like the first stage, maybe the second stage. And that's as high as it would go. I didn't know anything about dump trucks. So I thought that was it. I thought that's all it took to dump. And there was no kill button. I said, "How do you shut it off?" He's like, "Oh, just put it in second gear and drop the clutch and hold the brake. Just stall it." I'm like, that doesn't sound like that's good for a truck, man. He's like, "Oh, yeah, I've been doing it, And so it had air leaks everywhere. The most I could get the thing up was like 60 PSI, in the parking lot. That's basically all I could get up to was 60 PSI. So I pushed it in the brake. We took off. About 5 miles down the road, I hit I think it was like a Texaco or something like that. And we stopped and put fuel in. And then I just literally drove the thing all the way home from Sultan. Which, looking back, was insanity. Because I don't know how I didn't get pulled over. Like, it literally had no lights. One of the mirrors was missing. No exhaust. It was just totally missing everything. And so and it was smoking like the most, like you. I thought the motor was blown for sure. Like every time, every time you would grab a gear and step on the pedal, there was a cloud of smoke. Literally. Like if you go back to my first videos I've ever did with it, like it would smoke for a good 6-7 minutes when you first started it up. And then when you pushed in the brake to go, it would still smoke for about 2 miles down the road. Like it would literally smoke for like 2 or 3 miles down the road. So I thought the motor was, you know, definitely going to need to be replaced. Ended up getting it home and just started working on everything, you know, every single day after work. I'd come home, I'd replace an airline. Like it's not hard. You just pull one airline off and then you take it to the store and you get one made and then you put it back on. You know, and that's basically what I started doing when I first got it. I also shined up the front, you know, made it all polished so it looked cool. And then I took the drop axle off with my grandpa. Me and my grandpa took the drop axle off because it was totally cracked and just totally ruined. And I was looking at grandpa and I'm like, you know, what do we do, grandpa? You know, he's like, well, we'll just take it off and cut it apart and then weld it back together. And, you know, hopefully it, you know, it'll do it. And everybody's like, oh, you can't weld that. That's just metal fatigue. That's just going to crack again. That's just going to crack again. And I'm like, well, I mean, worst case scenario is I have to buy another drop axle. You know, all I'm really wasting is time, you know, and a few welding rods. And, you know, it's still 100% no cracks on the drop axle, you know, because I did a quality repair. And that was my main thing. Like, I said to myself, like, if I'm going to fix something, I'm going to fix it so I never have to fix it again. Or that's enough so you never have to worry about it. And I started doing that. And then, you know, 7 months later, you know, I got the truck pretty good. And I told my boss, I said, hey, man, and this was May. I said, no, it was April when I told him this. April, like, 20th. I said, hey, man, June 30th, I'm going to start my business. You know, so I was giving myself basically the finish out of April, May, June. So 3 months, basically, is kind of what I was hoping. So I could save up enough money and I could start in summer, you know, so I wouldn't have to worry about my rent or it wasn't rent, it was mortgage at that point for the duplex and, you know, food and my phone bill. And 2 weeks later, he fired me. And I took 1 week, one solid week, every single day, all day long. I fixed as much as I could without spending any money, you know, and basically got it to where I thought it could be roadworthy. And cash ready for the well. Yeah, that's how I'm saving up for. I'm saving up for that well. We're almost there. This is almost halfway there, right? These are hundreds right here. We got a few here. So we're almost there for the well. And so I told him I was going to quit. I was going to start. I was going to save. I was hoping to save up some money so I could start. And then he fired me. And then I did a live stream. And I was eating ice cream because I was super stressed. But I didn't really have a plan, guys. My plan was basically this. Call as many people as I can until I get work. That was my plan. Like, there was literally nothing else. That was the plan. Call people until I have work. And then keep calling until my schedule is booked. That was the plan. So, when you say, well, Brian, what does it take to start a business? Sometimes it doesn't really take a plan. It just takes balls. You just got to go for it. You know? And anybody who started a business knows, like, when you get ready to start your business and you quit your day job or whatever, you just got to go for it. You got to dive head first into the water and hope you don't hit bottom, you know? And I'll never forget it. I started calling people and there was nothing. Nothing. Even the people I thought were going to give me work, nothing. And then the guy that I bought those rims from for that truck, the guy I bought the rims from, he said, "Hey man, give me a call when you get the truck on the road. I just got my truck on the road. I know a dispatcher or two." You know? I said, "Okay." And I ended up texting him, no response. And then later that evening, it was like 8 or 9 in the evening, he texted me back. He said, "Hey man, I think I got work for you. Are you ready to work tomorrow?" I said, "Hell yeah, man, I'm ready." And then he said, "I got a guy who's going to call you." He didn't call me till like 9:30 or 10 o'clock that night. And then he's like, "Hey man, is this your first time?" I said, "This is my first time. I've never driven a dump truck before. Like, I know how to drive a semi, but I've never driven a dump truck before. I've never hauled a load of gravel. I've never hauled a load of rock. I've never hauled a load of dirt. I don't know any of the pits, basically." I'm like, "This is like my first day. And he's like, "Okay, well, we'll make it work, you know. Just don't tell anybody." He said, "I'll get you taken care of. Just don't tell anybody." He said, "I'll text you the address. Show up at this time." I said, "Okay." I showed up 30 minutes early, you know, shut my truck off, parked on the side of the road. And then the guy showed up, like, "Hey, you know, nice truck." You know, I was like, "Oh, thank you," you know. And then we worked that whole day. I got a few pictures. I even did a video. And basically the rest is history. You know, now I have 3 dump trucks, 2 excavators, a dozer, side by side, you know. And you know, it's all about working hard. It's not so much about a plan. It's just your plan is stay busy and work. And when something's broke, you fix it. You know, and then you just keep working. And then eventually, you know, time goes by, and then next thing you know, you're where I am. And so now I'm going to open it up. There's 25 of us in here. You guys have any questions to ask me about dump trucking? Here's the opportunity. Ask away any questions you want about dump trucking. I'll do my best to answer them in the chat. You got to answer them. You got to ask them in the chat. On every live stream, it says live chat. Just click on that. It'll show the chat, and then you can answer them. Or you can type in your little question, and I'll see if while you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up on these comments since I haven't been able to read any of them. You the man. Hope all is good in Washington. Thanks, JR. I seen you automatic Volvo super dump on truck paper around 60 to 80K. Ooh, don't get me started, Blake. I got to get my house first, man. House and well. Ever ride bike with no seat? Hell no. Gemini is now starting drivers at 30 an hour with sign-on bonus. They're hurting up here. I see big rigs hauling into Loves at least 4 times a week at the one I go past every day. Dang, Chaka, $30 an hour? Dude, that's... Well, when I was working for them, they weren't paying by the hour. They were paying by the load. So, side note, if I had to go back to any company that I've ever worked for, and let's just say I go out of business, and if I had to go back to any business I ever worked for, I'd go back to Loves or Gemini. That's the one company that I actually enjoyed working for, except for the regional manager, which I heard he got fired. So that's the one company I would go back to work for if I ever, you know, had to go back to work for somebody, which will never happen. But if I did, that's the one I would. Sometimes you don't need a plan, you just need balls. Well said, truck driver. You might be in Guinness Book of World Records for no shine on rims. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Orange and blue. Sorry, but I think of Dumb and Dumber. I've never seen Dumb and Dumber, so. Joe, seriously, have I ever put poison ivy in my underwear? No, but I think you have. You're acting kind of salty. Welcome on, Corky. We're gonna do what Dad couldn't. Oh, hey, guys. Joe, trucks make the same no matter if they're shiny or dirty, bro. Amen to that. Have I ever driven a whole day with no pants on? No. It's not smoking, it's just releasing excess horsepower. Yep. What do you want to know? Chaka, you gotta be clean going down road. Hey man, hey Cody. Don't say cash, Justin watching and going to go on a cash rant. I haven't seen a Texaco gas station in years. Hope you came down through Carnation and Black Diamond on the way back to South Hill. Dude, I went straight up I-5 South, 405, 167. That's the way I went. I didn't go through Carnation or anything like that. I just went right down 405. I just remember this. This is one of the images I still will never forget. I'm getting ready. I'm on 405. You know where the I-90 split is? East, west, or whatever? They got those 3 lanes for I-90, and then you have the Seattle lane. And then you got the two other ones. I'm going up. I look over, and there's this guy in this white car. And he's just like rolling his window up as fast as he can because he knows he's about to get smoked out the next gear I grab. It was the funniest thing. And I could just tell the guy was like, I hate this guy. I'll never forget that. Ryobi sucks. Cash ready for the well. Wash trucks all day. I'm ready for that. Yes, it sure does. How much does a well cost? I would almost think it would be cheaper to buy a whole home reverse osmosis system and just pump water from the pond. So a well will cost me roughly $20,000. That's basically the price quotes I've gotten. They just throw out a general number. They go off of the depths of the wells that are in the area. So my front neighbor way up there, his well is 25 feet deep. That neighbor's well is 150 feet deep. And that neighbor's 150 feet deep. And so they're just guessing and saying that my well is probably 150 feet deep. Is where we'll hit the groundwater, where there's enough and a good enough flow for things. And so that you pay them by the foot, basically. So the thing, stupid bugs, stupid little ants keep flying all over the place. So if you go down 200 feet, you're paying them for 200. If you go down 100, then you're only paying them for 100. But they're estimating, 20 grand is 150 feet, basically. And that's just to put a hole in the ground with the pipe and like a cap over it. That's none of the pump. That doesn't come with the pump. It doesn't come with the pressure tank. It doesn't come with any of that. That's just the price to put a hole in the ground with a big I don't know all the terms used for wells, but that's what a well is. Basically, it's a big pipe that goes in the ground, and then there's a pump that goes inside of that. I used brake clean as hand cleaner today, and turns out I have a dozen cuts. Oh, that's painful. What rocks? No good. How about tomatoes? Tomatoes are even more rude. Do you not throw them anything of them? You've ridden bikes without seats. The trick is not to sit down. How many loads day was the goal? What do you mean, Kyle? Like for when I worked for Love's? Is that what you're asking? How many loads a day was the goal? Do you need a CDL for the dump trucks? Yeah, so basically, you need a CDL for a dump truck, minimum Class B, unless you get a dump truck that is under 24,000 gross vehicle weight rating, I believe is what it is. I might be wrong on that. I really don't pay attention to the stuff that is small because there's money in weight. The more you haul, the more you make. And so I never did the smaller dump trucks. I never tried to do the specialized, oh, my dump truck's small, so I can get under power lines and you have to pay me more for that. I never went that route. I just said, the more you haul, the more you make. And basically, for any of my dump trucks, you have to have at least a Class B license. And then if you put a trailer behind it, then you have a Class A, and you have to have the trailers, the doubles, triples endorsement. Cameras inside looking at you, thought through at Gemini. That's sleazy. I have cameras only facing out. Yeah, see, that's another thing, Chaka, that I hated. You know, they didn't have, well, did they have a camera facing me? They did, but I put something over it. It was like a sticky note. I put a sticky note right over it or something. I will never work for a company that has the camera facing me. Like if they just had it just for like accidents and stuff, that's one thing. But if they're going to use that to micromanage you, and I will not work for a company that's going to micromanage me. You know, like I'm a self-starter. I'm self-sufficient. I don't need people to tell me what to do every second of the day. I'm not a baby. No CDL if the truck's under 25K. Yep. Some of Joe's questions make me wonder at times. Thank you, Blake. Blake, I'm going to need that binder off you at some point. Thing sounds great. That corn binder. Blake wants to sell it. Blake wants to sell it. That's 25K total weight. Might be 26K. Can't remember. But if you're under that fully loaded, you don't need a CDL. Yeah, I think it's 25,000 in one or something, or something like that, or 25,999. You damn right it does. Hey, Blake. Casing. How many loads a day was the goal when you started? When I started hauling dump trucks, I didn't really have any goals for loads per day because I was getting paid by the hour. So my goal, and this is when I first started, there was basically a rule. Like everybody I talked to, one of my biggest mentors, Robert McLear, he said, dude, if you can't get 6 hours out of somebody, don't work for them. You know, you need to charge them at least a 4-hour minimum, and you should be charging them a six minimum. And he's like, usually in the summer, we charge 8-hour minimum. And I'm like, okay, so in my book, when I first started, 4-hour minimum. That's what I told everybody. I'm like, dude, my truck don't roll unless I'm getting 4 hours guaranteed. Like, I'm not working less than 4 hours and not getting paid for at least 4 hours, because most of my work was anywhere from Graham to Seattle, right? And if you're driving up to Seattle, that's 2 hours. And if you're driving back, that's 2 hours. That's 4 hours. So you're basically driving for 4 hours for free no matter what. So you better be getting paid for the same amount of hours you're driving, you know? So my first year, that was my rule. And then I realized, I'm like, no, 4 hours ain't enough. 6-hour minimum. And then that's when I just started telling everybody. I said, dude, I got enough work. If you're not going to give me 6 hours pay, I'm not showing up. You know, and it's been that way since I started. When I first started, I was making $110 to $115 an hour. Now it's $120 for that. So it's gone up $5 an hour since I started, but it should go up another $5. I really should be raising my rate to $125 an hour with that truck, with the price of fuel the way it is. The supers are $145 when they're working for a customer that I work for all the time. When it's just a customer I work for here and there, it's 150 and up. The machines, when I first started, I was bidding my jobs 120 an hour, 6-hour minimum. Now I'm not doing by the hour, I'm doing by the bid, and I'm not bringing home less than $1,500. If I go out with the machine, I'm coming back with, $1,500 to $2,000. That's the way it is now. It's like $2,000, or I don't even want to show up. So I never really did by the load. So it was always by the hour. And so 120 at a 6-hour minimum, $720. So basically $720 is the minimum for me to show up with a dump truck. If I'm showing up with a piece of equipment, it's $1,500. And the reason it's more is because you got to think of all the time loading at my place, unloading at their place, loading at their place, and then unloading at my place. All that time has got to be paid for. Heck, just buy a row system and a pump, throw it in the middle of the pond, and be done. Probably cost you $13,000 total, and you will have bottled water, quality water. The problem is, Blake, is that pond is almost dry right now. Like, if we were pulling water out of it, it would be totally dry. If you want to make money in a dump truck, you'll have to get a CDL. A small dump truck doesn't haul as much as the semi models of dump trucks. Yep. Most of the time, from what I've seen, the single axle 26K and under dumps are used by landscaping guys. Basically, yes. Either that, or it's an excavation company that doesn't do a lot of hauling, and they need something to haul a machine around and move a little bit of stuff. I don't know, the most successful person I know locally with a single truck runs a FLD single axle with no DOT number, and the man has more dang work than all of us running triples and quads. But that's in Tennessee at Chaka. True, and people that buy them most likely buy them for a just-in-case situation. Yeah, see, that's usually what I'm seeing. Would you ever buy equipment at an auction? Yeah, I would buy equipment at an auction. I'd have to see it before I bought it, though. I would not buy anything sight unseen. When you buy sight unseen, you're asking for kicking the balls. Better break out the excavator and start digging to China. I'm patiently waiting for deer season. How much more can you haul with the Super than a 6-axle truck I had was your break even? So basically, that truck is a triaxle. It's got one drop axle, and it can haul 15 tons, and a super dump 25 tons. So 10 tons more, which is 20,000 pounds more, basically. I mean, not net 20,000 pounds because the truck's heavier, right? Those trucks weigh 32,000 empty. That one weighs 24 empty. So, I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I went and I started buying super dumps versus, straight trucks is I've noticed the demand for those trucks has went down since I first started my business. It's either went down or I started distancing myself from those dispatchers and that type of work. Because, for one, I don't want to drive to Seattle anymore, right, to do a basement dig out. So, that's typically what those guys are doing. They're either doing basement dig outs or they're doing paving in the parking lot. And I haven't really, done any paving recently, and I haven't really done any basement dig outs because it's just not really my thing, And I noticed, if you want to get on with a rock quarry, you either got to have a truck and trailer, a transfer, or a super dump, right? And it's basically a no-brainer for me which one I was going to choose, because, you know, I wanted to be able to park the stuff at my place without having to clear this massive amount of space. And I also didn't want to have to deal with a trailer. And I definitely didn't want to have to deal with training a driver how to use a transfer. Okay. Is a tandem dump in demand in Pierce County region? I would probably say if you know the right people, then anything is in demand. But for me, no. I honestly have not seen very many tandems out there. Usually the only tandems you will see is state vehicles. And that's because the state, you know, they can buy those and they don't care. Because if something takes longer to do, they don't care because they're not paying for it. We're paying for it as the taxpayers. So tandems, I'm sure you can find work for them, but I never really entered that side of the industry. I always went for triaxle or bigger, right? Depends on how heavy the 6-axle is. I've seen lightweight, small motor 6-axles legal at 24.5 ton, but the Super is a better setup for that weight. What is the difference between a dump truck and a semi with an end dump in terms of capability? That's a good question, Kyle. So recently, I had my ex-boss, he sent me a picture of an end dump. And basically what an end dump is it's a tractor, a day cab tractor, with a long trailer on it that, you know, the whole trailer tips up. And he said 18, but I bet he would have taken 15. And I thought about buying it. I really did. But then I'm like, no. I reached out to some of my customers and they're like, we don't ever use them. I'm like, okay. So not really something I want to get into right now. But I would like to have one, just not right now. And so an end dump, in terms of capabilities, an end dump is going to haul 25 tons, roughly. They're legal for 80,000 pounds. And they weigh about 32,000 pounds. So basically the same weight as a super dump. But here's where the advantage of an end dump is. Here's the pros of an end dump. You can put scrap metal in them, volume. You can put bark in it, volume. You can do land clearing debris in volume, way more, because it doesn't. You'll never weight out. You'll never limit out on weight with an end dump versus a super dump, right? The cons of a end dump are basically they're very long. You're not getting them into any job site. The job site has to be tailored for an end dump. It has to be level, 100% level. You do not want to tip up an end dump on a slight incline. You'll tip the thing over. There's videos on YouTube all day long about people tipping over end dumps. And the saying is not if, it's when. And so a super dump can haul the weight, but not the volume. But they can get into smaller spaces, right? So that's the plus with the super dump versus an end dump. Okay. I haul 25 on a daily basis with a triaxle. Weight restrictions must be way different on the left coast or something. Yeah, they're way different. What's up, Renegade Garage? That or I'm illegal every day and don't know or care. That's very likely. Yes. If you have a super dump, Corey Works is your bread and butter. Basically, super dump, the bread and butter of a super dump is working for Corey or hauling asphalt or hauling dirt. All three of those. Rock, asphalt, or dirt or sand, you know, that type of stuff. Because you haul the weight in a small package, right? How about there?
6-axle without the strong arm or maxle, we can gross out 69,000. 7-axle with the maxle strong arm, we can go 82. Extra axle and stretches the bridge. Yep. Thank you. James Rowland, ain't illegal till you get caught. Watch several of your videos, sir. Good information. Still looking into getting started in the business. Any advice on buying a first truck? Great question, Jeremy Hartman. My advice is pay cash. And I don't really think it's as important as what type of dump truck you buy, as long as you're willing to grind and you're willing to have some balls when it takes, to just go for it, basically. Like I made it with that, no problem. There's guys that make it with tandems. There's guys that make it with pickup trucks. But if you're gonna buy a dump truck in Washington, my advice is triaxle or more. And my advice is pay cash, because if there's no work, you just park the truck and then you go find a job. If there's work, then you're busting your balls, 24/7. You're making that money. I don't advise people to go into debt on their first truck, because number one reason why I don't advise people to go into debt on their first dump truck is they really don't have a clue what the industry's like. So why would you go into debt for something you don't know if you love? Why would you put yourself in that much risk if you don't know if it's going to pay out? So that's why I always, buying a new truck is very good. Like if you already know that you can be successful, yeah, go buy a brand new truck, spend the money. But you're going to be locked into that truck, for a long time. That's the one thing about buying a truck on financing. You're going to be locked into that payment, whether you like it or not. That payment's coming. And if you're not driving that truck, somebody better be driving that truck, because the payment is going to keep coming. So my advice is just pay cash. Save up 25 to 35. You'll buy an easy triaxle. You can get a triaxle for 25 to 30 all day long. It's going to have an issue or two when you buy it. You're going to have to fix it yourself. That's what I did, and that worked out great for me. And then, if I could do it all over again, I would have bought a different truck. I would have paid more for something newer. And then I would have bought a trailer, and did truck and pup. But that wasn't really my goal. My goal was to start hiring people. And with the truck and pup, it's a little bit more difficult to hire people. Super dump, you can literally put anybody in an automatic super dump. If they've driven a bus, they can drive a super dump. I mean, that's how easy it is. So it's basically a no-brainer for me. And I was like, well, I don't want to drive the rest of my life. I want to be, in an office or my house, dispatching, maybe doing the maintenance on the trucks myself. And that was kind of my goal. So that's my advice on buying a first truck. $25 to $35 range, $1,000 range, and then just fixing it, making it yours. I changed the tires on a big truck once. God, I'm not doing one of those again. Yeah, it's tough work. Chaka, they raised it for us in Ohio. We can get an extra 7% now. My quad can leave the plant with 69,700, and I think a 6-axle can get out with like 74K. I was thinking of getting started, engine swapping my truck, but I'll sit here and watch. How do you make tax write-offs? Will you ever take the debt just for the tax reasons to maintain the cash? Okay, how do you make tax write-offs? So basically, a tax write-off is whenever your business spends money, you keep track of that, and then at the end of the year, your tax lady tallies it all up and figures out what gets written off and what doesn't. Some things have a higher depreciation schedule, which means you can write it off for a longer period of time, right? If you don't have tax write-offs, then the more money you make, the more you pay in taxes. It's just that simple. I'm taking over around here. I'm buying out Icon, Merlino, Tucci, and Miles. I'm buying all those guys with cash. If you're going to buy a dump truck, buy a welder with it. Best advice I can give anybody. Especially if you're buying an aluminum box. So welding is definitely a good skill to have if you own a dump truck. I'll be honest. Welding is definitely a good skill. You need a set of wrenches, you need a crescent wrench, and you need some sockets, and you need an impact gun. You got to have those. And you got to have a pry bar or two. Those are necessities if you own a dump truck business. How much do you turn a wrench on your trucks, and what are you not willing to turn a wrench on a dump truck? That's a great question, Kyle. Okay, so here's some examples of things that I have not done myself and I have paid a shop to do. I paid a shop to fix the frame. I paid a shop to replace the turbos and the intercooler. I have paid a shop to do the wiring on that tailgate, which I probably could have did that myself, but I was at my wit's end, right? I have paid a shop to straighten a frame, to weld a frame. I have, let's see what else. I have paid a shop to hook up a computer and diagnose a check engine light. And that's it. Everything else I have done myself. I have paid a shop to replace the walking I-beam bushings and the spring hangers and the kingpins. I have changed tires. I have changed brakes. I have changed airlines. I have changed wires. I have replaced U-joints. I have replaced drive lines. I've fixed, worked on pinions, bearings, wheel seals. I've worked on hydraulic hoses, hydraulic fittings. Yeah, I mean, basically, that's basically the stuff that I have done. I've welded, stuff that's cracked and broke. If I think it's like a serious liability, I'll put that in somebody else's hands. I'll let somebody else deal with that. Here's basically where I draw the line. I say, okay, if I can fix it myself for less and for faster, then I'm doing it myself. If I cannot fix it faster than a shop or for less than a shop, then I'm probably paying. Mainly, my number one decider is time. Okay, if I have the truck, how long is it going to take me to fix it versus how long is it going to take a shop to fix it? If it's going to a shop, they're going to have it for a week. Can I fix it faster than in a week? That's the question I ask myself all the time. If I can't fix it in faster than a week, then I'm paying somebody. Like, for example, the new truck over here, tailgate, OSW, Truck Weld, JP Hydraulics. They all wanted $6,000 to $7,000 for the tailgate, and they wanted a month to make it. I fixed it I welded a new tailgate together for $1,500, and I did it in 2 days. So, $7,000 in a month, $1,500 in 2 days. Like, I can't even put my hands far enough apart to tell you the difference. That's how I decide. If I can fix it faster and for less, I'm doing it myself. And it's going to suck, but I'm going to do it. my God. I seen Van Dip made his way over from Justin's with his nonsense. I spotted a very naughty little boy in the chat. He must have got coal for Christmas. Probably. James, you're not wrong. Just spend last weekend rewelding the vibrator on my Sterling. Unless you're Josh, then you can't drive anything. Let's see what that says. Can I look at it? It's not going to let me click on it. How much equipment do you need in your shop to be successful at fixing most truck maintenance issues? That's a great question. Here's basically what you need. You need an impact gun with impact sockets. You need a wrench and some small sockets and some deep sockets. And you need a few screwdrivers and a pry bar. That's basically all you need. The biggest thing you're going to need is an impact and impact sockets. Like whenever I'm working on a truck, not like 90% of the time I'm using impact and impact sockets. Can you make it happen without it? Yes, you can. You can do it without impact sockets. Is it going to suck? Yes, it's going to suck big time. But you can do it. How bad is truck insurance up there in Jersey? I pay $12,000 a year, one truck. Little Nino Gamer. My first year, I paid $10,000. Second year, I paid $6,000. And that was for one dump truck. And then I bought 2 other dump trucks and all the excavators, and now I pay $20,000 a year. Catch you later, Crony. Thank you for your response. I will take those things in mind for sure. Happy hauling. Yeah, no problem, Jeremy. Just because I'm with James. Be more creative. If you're at least funny, you can stay. Great channel. Thanks, Rolling Red. Ooh, some food. What's this? Orange chicken? Thank you, babe. I was just going to kick him, but didn't want to overstep. Yeah, if you guys don't want to see his crap, delete him. You know, do whatever you want. Like, you guys have the blue wrench, so do whatever you want. Kick him. That's what he wants anyways. You will get the tools you need as you go. Bingo. Right there. And then, here's the other thing. So, then, once you've been in business long enough, then you start to get to buy the tools that make your life easier. They're not the tools that you need, but they make your life easy. Like that Milwaukee ratchet, that's a nice tool. Like that DeWalt impact driver, that's a nice tool. As a matter of fact, that's in Milwaukee. And
you're welcome.
What are you talking about? I bought those.
Where's one?
Yeah, that's right. You did buy me that one, didn't you?
And I let you
with my
buy.
money. You hear that? She let me buy. How long did it take for you to work the kinks out of your first truck and start turning a profit? Well, Joel, I worked on that truck for basically 7 months straight and didn't see a single cent in return. And then after that, I worked for 6 months straight in summer and I made $106,000. So I would say probably after my first month of profit after working. So I basically worked 8 months and then finally started seeing profit. 7 months of just working on it, 1 month of working it, and then it was basically up from there. Is there any difference in the quality of the commercial insurance as compared to the cost? Kyle, honestly, I can't really say for insurances as versus quality versus cost. I've always just found the cheapest insurance possible because I'm the type of guy that I'm never making an insurance claim if I can help it. You know, if my truck driver crashes into somebody, I'm going to try and cash that guy out because I don't want my rates to go up. Because insurance in my opinion, is a scam. I mean, it's a necessary scam, but it's still a scam. You know, think about it real quick here. I'm spending 20 grand a year in just insurance. 20 grand. How often do my trucks get in crashes? And what's the cost of the crash? Okay. Now, when you talk about all the hundreds and thousands of drivers out there, does insurance make sense? Yes. But for me, no. Because I will have spent a total of, let's see, I've been in business for going on 4 years. That's, let's see, 20, 30, 40, 50. I spent $50,000 in insurance already since I've been in business. $50,000. Okay, how much has my insurance company paid out, you ask? Well, let's see. My brand new truck ran into a Miata, and they cashed out $7 grand. So, in 4 years of business, the insurance company has made off of me more than $40,000. I'll never see that money again. Amen, James. All commercial insurance is a guaranteed ripoff, no matter what. Unfortunately, if you need it, you'll drop and your rates will skyrocket. Amen to that. I stay for a little while longer to watch for the trolls if I'm needed. You ain't seen Grandpa around. Is he all good? Hope he okay. He cracks me up with his jokes. You very, very lucky to have him. Yep. Grandpa's doing great. He hasn't been around. He went on a hike with my grandma and my aunt in Lake Ozette. Somebody ran in my grandpa's parked car, and so his front fender got ruined. I got a new fender getting shipped here pretty soon. It should be here any day. We're gonna be putting that on. We might do a live stream for that. Maybe not. I don't know. I just lost my truck for a while due to a drunk with no insurance, and my own insurance company treated me like a murderer the entire time, even though the wreck was 100% not my fault. I feel your pain, James. I feel your pain. I have a 7-axle dump truck for sale. How much? How much you selling it for? We will see how that insurance pays out once I get the bill. Yeah, that's what I want to find out, Blake. That's what I want to find out. I haven't told anybody what happened. That's all up to you. If you want to say what happened, you go on ahead and say what happened. What kind of welder do you need to weld aluminum? When I was welding aluminum, all I had was basically a super cheap MIG welder with a spool gun. And I had 100% argon gas. That's all you need. It's a cheap MIG welder, $600. And I bought a $200 spool gun. And then a tank of 100% argon gas. That's it. There are a ton of these little ants. They're about this big. They're flying everywhere. They must smell my food or something because they keep trying to bother me. New tire, used tires, or recaps. I seem to blow out before I go through the tread. Well, Joel, here's what I do. I use virgin tires no matter what. That's just the way I've ran my business from day one.
I've found that I get better life out of the tire if it's like a meaty mud tire, like a mud grappler. Like if it's meaty, you're going to get some good life out of it. The other thing is look at your tires every single day. Pull the screws out. You're going to have screws. Once a month, you're going to find something. If you're not finding something, you ain't looking hard enough. Those will burrow their way into the tire if you're not watching. If you don't catch it early, it'll work its way into the tire. One of the good things also is get set up with a company. I'm not going to say Les Schwab, but Les Schwab is a big company. I use S&S Tire. And they got 2 shops in Washington, I think. And they're a smaller company. They have a service truck. I buy thousands of dollars worth of tires from them every year. And they will literally drop anything and come out and fix a flat for me. Or put a tire on. I bring my truck in there, boom, they are on it. They don't mess around. When I first started my business, I used Les Schwab like 2 or 3 times, and I got treated like crap. And then I decided, I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to spend this much money at a single place, I better like the people. And I just get way better service at S&S. So, if you're in Washington, check out S&S. Tell them I sent you. Another thing that irritated me about Les Schwab was I got a tire for my tilt deck, and then literally a month later, I said, hey man, I need to get another tire. And they're like, oh, we don't have those tires. Those are special order. I said, dude, I just got one last month. What are you talking about? Well, I don't know. They're special order. And I'm like, whatever, dude. So that's when I started going to S&S. And they're like, oh yeah, we got those tires. I'm like, okay, sweet. Plus, Les Schwab, they're not big on doing semi-trucks. Like, they have a section, but you never see them in there. Go to a tire company that you see semis in there all the time. You're going to get the best price there. They have GCR is a really big one. Love's has a few tire shops. Goodyear has a big tire shop in Tacoma. But I choose to go with S&S because I think they're great. Anyways, guys.
How much do you spend on tires? Do you pre-buy tires? Do you run recaps? I don't run recaps. I buy all brand new tires on a super dump. You're spending $2,000 on the steer tires, and then you're spending, I think it's $500 a drop axle tire. I think I could be wrong on that. It's been a while since I looked at the invoice. But I know you're spending like $3 or $4 grand on the drivers. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. So you're spending basically $8,000 on tires. And it's probably every other year is basically where you're at. Or 2 seasons or 3 seasons you might get out of them. Do you get good fuel discounts running dump trucks? I wouldn't really say you get a super good discount. I think I get like 20 cents. And that's because they come and they fill my tanks up. We use Schwab. They come to our yard and knock tires and check them out twice a week since our guys are too lazy to do it themselves. Yeah, special order, special price. That's what he was getting at. Amen to that. Like, that's exactly. Like, I'm not paying this special price for that. And they didn't even have one. I'm like, dude, I literally bought one last week. You know? And they didn't say they were special or nothing then. I always run the best Michelin tires money can buy on the steers and whatever I can afford on the drivers. But I've gotten to where I'll run caps over virgins out because since the price has went crazy. We have a big warehouse that sells tires to all the tire shops. We buy them straight from the manufacturer or they install for us too. Ooh, that'd be nice, Blake. If I knew that if there was a manufacturer over here somewhere, I'd probably do the same thing. You know you're making big money when you don't even look at the invoices. I mean, it's over there. You know, you just know it's coming out. Like, I bought stuff that I don't need to look at the invoice to know it's expensive. You know, it's like the fuel bill comes every single week, and it's right around. And I've just gotten to the point where, like, I don't want to know if it's 2,000 or 1,500 or 1,700 or 2,500. I know it's coming out, and I know it's going to be a lot. So I just make sure the money's in there, and I don't care. You know, less stress that way. You know you're big money when you don't even look. I was a strict no recap guy until I blew like 4 good virgin drives in 1 year, and I gave up with that. Dang, yeah, that would suck. I've never blown a tire, like blown, except for when I was driving a tanker truck. That's the only time I've ever blown a tire, and it was I've blown a steer tire. Yeah, that was the only tire I ever blew. I've had a few flats. You know, I've had a few flats on the trucks. Brandon is the king of making tires flat. My driver. I love the guy, but that guy can hit a nail. You know, he can hit a nail. That's all I'm going to say. Toyota M506 or Bridgestone on the drives in Bridgestone. You know, I'm not a big fan of the Bridgestones. I'll be honest, Chaka. I had Bridgestones, and I had horrible luck with them. Horrible luck. Let me take you over here and show you the tires I got. Okay. So, the tires. I've had these type of tires. I had them for 2 years. No. 2.5 years, I think. And then I just got these replaced not too long ago. They're not the same brand, but they're the same tread pattern and everything. So the first ones were Samson's. These ones are Arison. See the tread pattern? I mean, those things are deep. They got big lugs. And let me tell you what. I've had bolts go in these things. Look. That's where a bolt used to be. Pulled it right out. No flat. You know? Those tires freaking kick butt. Just bought some new steer tires for this dump truck. Cost me... I think it was... I don't remember. It was a lot. The driver loves them. These ones are Hercules. No split rims. Drop axle tires, Iron Man. That one's leaking. Iron Man's. These are the Bridgestones. These aren't Bridgestones per se, but they're basically Bridgestone. These ones are Bridgestone. Road Shine. I had tires exactly like this on that truck, and they sucked balls. I hated them. Here's what's wrong with these tires. See how they're breaking? Rocks and stuff will get wedged in these cracks, and then it'll start breaking stuff away. These ones are even worse, because rocks will get lodged in between here and here. And then next thing you know, these chunks will be breaking right off. Luckily, this truck wasn't in the quarry as much as the other truck, and it was more just on the road. So I was able to wear the tires down fast enough and get them rotated, you know. But you can see, look at all the rocks inside of there. Like, look at that one. That one's burrowed in there. That one's burrowed in there. You can tell it's inside of the tire. It started burrowing in the tire. These steer tires are freaking... These ones are pimp. I like these steer tires. These ones are Bridgestones. This is better than the Michelin one I had on there before. Look at these meaty. These things are meaty. Still, they still got a lot of rocks in them, though. And then we got these Goodyears. These Goodyears, I think these were trash compared to the Ironman. These Goodyear tires are trash. Look at the amount of wear, the funky wear patterns. See, this one's like all like worn in the center. This one's got different spots. Like if you just look at it, it's got different spots. These are the tires you want on the back. Road X. These things are monsters. Monster tires. I freaking love them. Alright, let's go over to the other side real quick so I can show you how crappy those Goodyear tires are. They just have such a funky wear. Like, look at this one. See how it just wears so uneven like that? That's a brand new truck. Everything is brand new on this truck. So you can't tell me, oh, it's the this or it's that. No, it's just a garbage tire. Look at that. Same with this one. Look at the wear pattern. Is that funky or what? Now let's look at an Ironman. This one's been on here for over a month. Notice any funky wear patterns? No. No funky wear patterns. Just some dirt. So, no on the Goodyear, yes on the cheap Chinese Ironmans. I can't see the wear with the potato quality video. Sorry about that. No, they're not separating. Anyways, guys, I gotta go. I gotta make a call or two. So I got a customer who wants me to call him. So I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the great questions. And, you know, like I said, it doesn't always take a plan. Sometimes it just takes balls. So just go for it. And don't forget to pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.